Hello, everybody. It's your favorite West Virginia space here, and Shadowflare, who's managed to hack into my spaceship.
Hey, blame yourself, buddy. 1234 is not a secure password.
Yeah, I know I should have changed it when I got the ship. Oh well. Anyway, today we are going to talk about, as both fans of Spider-Man, we are going to talk about some of our ideas of how we would make our own Spider-Man story that isn't set like in the MCU or the 616 comics or, an alternate universe kind of deal. Because, well, quite frankly, most of Spider-Man stuff today is basically just people beating on Peter Parker over and over again.
Yeah, the comics have pretty much devolved into just watching Pete suffer at this point.
I mean, you think at this point the Avengers would step in and okay, get this guy some 24-hour shield protection.
Yeah. So what we're here to talk about is if we had to start over, how would we do it, right?
Yeah. You want to go first?
Sure. I think I would definitely like to take it back to the bare basics,
Mm-hmm.
Poor kid growing up in Queens, crappy apartment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do the Uncle Ben thing and just keep it like friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Keep it simple.
Mm-hmm. What would be some of your first storylines in it?
Let me think. Some of the first storylines I would probably more or less make comics out of the Sam Raimi movies, because I like the idea of the Green Goblin being the first real Spidey villain.
I get that.
Yeah, because Harry Osborn's his best friend, I think having a villain with a personal connection to Spidey be the first real Spidey threat, that makes the most sense to me.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And I wouldn't really change the origin at all. The origin, I'm a bit of a purist that way. The origin has to stay the way it is. You mess with that story, you're messing with it's like messing with the Ten Commandments. Don't do it.
Yeah, completely reasonable. You change it too much and it starts to get wonky. Heck, even not mentioning Uncle Ben causes problems sometimes.
Yeah. The MCU had some difficulties with that, where they kind of skipped over the whole Uncle Ben thing, and now we're not even sure if Uncle Ben exists in the MCU.
Well, there was that one Marvel Zombies what if episode where Spider-Man says, "I've lost so many people," and then he says Iron Man, someone else, Uncle Ben. You know what I mean? Implying that. Although to be fair, the problem is that is a what if universe, so it's entirely possible that Uncle Ben only exists within that what if of the MCU. But I admit that does seem a bit shaky logic.
Yeah, that is pretty suspect. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that Uncle Ben did exist, especially since the episode kind of confirmed it. But it's, once again, a line or something probably would have helped.
Yeah.
Although I do kind of get the MCU's complaint that you don't have to make the first Spider-Man movie all about the same thing we've seen before, but a flashback or some kind of mention would have been good. Especially, you know what I mean? But it also depends. If you're making a TV show or a cartoon show or a long-running comedy, you can definitely do that as setup. If it's a movie, it's a bit more complicated.
Yeah, especially because there's been so many now.
Yeah, we got the original Tom Holland Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, and the MCU didn't have the Uncle Ben thing, but that's two things that most people have seen before.
Plus now we got the Spider-Verse movies, and then you throw in Venom and Morbius, and it's just huge.
And Spider-Man has had the most cartoons out of any Marvel character, short of maybe the Hulk. Hulk maybe might have had as many, I think.
Yeah. Because almost every time there was a new Spider-Man movie, a new cartoon came out, pretty much.
Yeah, and since he has some of the most movie track record, there's a lot of cartoons that had to be made. Surprisingly, all good quality.
How would you redo the Spidey universe?
Now, I do agree with your sentiment that it makes the most sense to kind of keep it basic and keep it how it's been done. But I was thinking of, well, how would I change it in an interesting way? So my thoughts: are you aware of the Secret War / Skrull Invasion story arc in the comics?
I'm somewhat familiar with Secret Wars because of the 1994 Spider-Man cartoon.
Yeah.
I know it's not a totally faithful adaptation, though.
Yeah, well, basically in the Secret War, I think it's actually called Skrull Invasion or something. I always get its name wrong. But basically, the idea was the Skrulls. You know those guys, right?
Yeah, from the Captain Marvel movie.
Yeah, well, they're much cooler in the comics, but
I figured
correction,
that much. I
everything in
figured that much. That movie is not very good.
Yeah, also, like in the comics, they're like these straight up shape shifting evil bad guys who want to take over pretty much the universe.
Yeah, that does sound cooler.
But anyway, in the Secret Invasion, there was a what if of that storyline in the comics, so basically what if the Skrulls won, kind of, and it had some ideas in it, like, for example, the big one in this case being is that the Skrulls started turning people into pseudo-Skrulls as part of the Empire, and people willingly joined in it. And one of the panels in it was this little, and I didn't read the comic, I just know about this. You know what I mean? I probably should buy it because it's actually just kind of interesting. Because like the Avengers held up in Wakanda, the last heroes held up in Wakanda, and one of the panels we see of a person being turned to a Skrull is actually Aunt May, and we learned that one of the reasons Peter Parker is so against using using a device that would kill all the Skrulls was to kill his last family member. You know what I mean?
That does sound really interesting.
But and that what gave me this idea, though it is a little bit different. In my version of it, in this universe, there were no any superheroes. You know, maybe like Apocalypse was hiding in the desert or something, or Wolverine up in the north of Canada. But in this universe, it was basically just all world. You know what I mean? Any heroes that would later exist are just normal people at this point, right? And then the Skrulls invade. But they do it, I say, pseudo peacefully, as peaceful as replacing leaders ever go. You know what I mean? And it's like, most people either willingly join or know they can't fight against it, or no is a loose term. But yeah, I mean, basically, it's a relatively peaceful invasion. And so people and they set up, they start reconstructing the cities in their image and all that jazz, and they start turning people willingly into Skrulls, right? Or pseudo-Skrulls in this case. And this what-if idea of mine. And Peter Parker, who I'm just going to have be in college because I'm kind of tired of seeing high school Spider-Man again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter either way because it's not like he's going to be going to school in this version. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like mid to late 20s, Peter. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how old it'll be, but the idea is that he's still living with Aunt May and Uncle Ben at this point. Very key point is that they're both still alive at this point. And what happens is, so Peter Parker has some reservations about it. So, so basically Uncle Ben, Aunt May go in first, and, when they come out, Peter Parker makes some, like, silly jab or joke that they often did. But, and this isn't talked about in the, like, actual, so I had to make this up for this idea, is that the Skrulls, when someone turns into a Skrull, they kind of lose some of their humanity, generally become mean, like the Skrulls are, because the Skrulls are not nice people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, like a Star Trek assimilation kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, and so when Peter Parker makes some, like, playful jab or some joke that Uncle Ben used to, Uncle Ben just beats the snot out of him. You know what I mean? Because you know what I mean? I'm not saying that Peter Parker, everything's going to hurt Peter Parker in this story, but he's definitely going to have a bad time at the start. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely sounds like it.
Yeah, and so he's beat and throw down the machine, and I imagine this machine is having a whole lot of, like, I don't know, this whole, being a massive structure. It's not just, like, tiny pod. It's, like, huge, build skyscraper-sized kind of deal. And so Peter Parker gets kicked down, his broken body falls all the way down into the sewers, you know what I mean, or some area like that. And due to all the mutagenic stuff going on in the area, Peter Parker would have just died there if it wasn't for a little spider that happened to get exposed that just happened to bit him. And, well, you get the idea. He gets powers from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're keeping that element of it, although it is somewhat changed a little bit. You know what I mean? And so Peter Parker is, basically just broken up, torn up, and, of course, now has the powers of Spider-Man, or at least he develops them over a few days. Haven't decided if he would have organic or inorganic webs yet. You know what I mean? But, and so what happens is, but Peter Parker starts hiding his own face, not necessarily as like Peter Parker is dead kind of deal, but he basically somewhat refers himself more as Spider-Man than he does Peter, although it's not exactly a firm distinction, is that, but the thing is, so he does things, and I think, well, why doesn't he just fight everybody? So everybody's enemy? Because he is still public enemy number one, well, one of them. You know what I mean? But the thing is, he still cares about the people he knew in life, before he was Spider-Man, even if they hate him. You know what I mean? He still, cares for Aunt May and Uncle Ben. He still wants to get with either Gwen Stacy or MJ, all this. You know what I mean? He still has a pseudo-rivalry with Flash Thompson. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I mean, he still cares about these people. I mean, he still cares about the city. He's not just going to kill everybody because they turned against me. They're still his friends. I mean, he still wants to help. I mean? So he's stuck in this weird dynamic of everybody's actively part of an alien empire that wants to kill you and take over the world or the galaxy or whatever. And here he is trying to fight that and protect the people he cares about.
That does sound kind of interesting. I feel like Web of Shadows, if you ever played that game, Spider-Man Web of Shadows, I feel like that had kind of a similar concept with the whole everybody's being taken over by symbiotes thing.
Yeah. Well, the idea is that there's actually a few, like you said, I think there was the Web of Shadows game with the symbiotes, and then there was the Amazing Spider-Man tie-in, pseudo tie-in game that did something similar. So it's not like revolutionary, but I thought this would be more of, instead of being just a little bit game, be more like a comic or a running cartoon, and like all of his villains, but some of them would be like collaborators with the aliens, like bounty hunter kind of deals, like probably Kraven, you know what I mean? But like most of them are people who are very similar like him, who due to failed botch experiments or whatever during the process got their version of their powers, and they hate the system for one reason or another. But at the same time, they don't care about civilian casualties or actually setting up anything good. They're just here to wreck house and get money. You know what I mean? So Spider-Man ends up clashing with them for that reason. I'm not sure how Green Goblin would work in this universe, but to be fair, the Skrulls are green. He's green, so I don't know. Maybe he wanted to become a superior Skrull, and it went incredibly badly.
Yeah, I can imagine like the Green Goblin, like getting super power hungry and maybe trying to like overthrow the Skrulls or get some like big scientific doohickey that would make him more powerful than the Skrulls.
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine the awkward situation where like both like the Skrull leaders in New York are fighting against Harry Osborn / the Green Goblin, and Spider-Man's like, I don't want either of these people to win. No matter who wins, this ends badly.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things I focus on is that, at least at the start, Spider-Man's kind of alone. He doesn't have it's not like he can just casually take off the mask and go back and just be a kid for a while, or a teen or adult, or I mean, he can't do that in this universe. You know what I mean? Like, there is no Peter Parker at the start, to a degree. The only people who care about Peter Parker at this point is him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I'm presuming the Avengers don't exist in this universe.
Well, they wouldn't at the start. I would have some of the Avengers but I would imagine for like the first season, or if there's a cartoon, there would be only the occasional hint of another hero being around, like giant green monster sighted in North Canada. You know what I mean? Like on a newspaper somewhere. But the idea, as if I was doing it, as it would go on, he would eventually meet some other heroes who would kind of become his friends and allies in the story. People he could trust and actually, be with to a degree. I mean, like, he would meet, like, Iron Man this universe or something like that, and they'd start hanging out. And they would probably form a loose Avengers team, but that would be later on in the story. You know what I mean? I'm not sure who would be consisting of what members. You could probably play around with it quite a bit. Like, I mean, I'm not sure, but you could have, like, you could play around his friendship with Johnny Storm. Maybe he'd be part of the team. You know what I mean? You could have, like, maybe Captain America show up as, like, the living legend. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff you could do. I'd probably have the Hulk show up at some point just because those two often meet. And Hulk's pretty easy. I would just have it be that Hulk had a banner, had like some kind of DNA reaction with the gamma radiation kind of deal. Maybe the transformation term into Hulk in this version.
Yeah, I can see like Doctor Strange or Ghost Rider maybe popping up too, because like in the original comics there was a lot of interaction between like Spidey and Doctor Strange and Spidey and Ghost Rider.
Oh yeah, we could do all kinds of things with that. Like Doctor Strange is like someone who was injured during the initial invasion, like went to like wherever the Masters of Magic, what the name is, I forgot the name. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, like he hide away, and then over that time became the Sorcerer Supreme, and has now moved back to New York, basically in that hiding mansion deal. You know what I mean? Yeah. Ghost Rider could just be someone looking for vengeance, as there's gonna be a lot of vengeance that needs to go around.
Oh yeah, I can picture like Ghost Rider at street level, just like trying to kill any Skrull that gets near him.
Yeah. Oh, that could be a whole arc. He's going to like kill someone Peter Parker cares about, and so the two have to fight.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah.
Punisher is just being Punisher. Like, I don't think he cares much about the mild difference. If you want to tie it in, just say his family was killed by aliens this time, but I don't really think that matters too much if he shows up.
Oh yeah, Punisher's always been pretty simple. Like, if it moves and looks like a bad guy, shoot it.
Yeah. I don't care if they're alien or human. You act evil, I'm gonna shoot you. But yeah, that most of my other thoughts kind of vary from that. Maybe some like variation. Like you would have like his interaction with someone like say Black Cat, who I keep wanting to call Catwoman, which I'm sure has nothing to do. I'm sure it has nothing to do because they're not similar in any way, shape, and or form.
What, a sexy lady themed after a cat? Oh my god, who copied who here?
I don't know actually. I'm pretty sure Catwoman's first, but I honestly, yeah, she's first. People keep talking about is MJ actually Catwoman? Me wondering if Catwoman and Black Cat are the same person, just joking across the multiverse. That would be hilarious if they ever made a Marvel vs. DC fighting game. Like, it's just a reskin of the same character mechanically.
Yeah, I mean, Selena Kyle, Felicia Hardy, they do sound similar, don't they?
I tell you, if Spider-Man and Batman ever talk, you think they'd bring that up occasionally? Like, wait a second. That would be funny. But yeah, like I said, like I was getting with it. Like, she'd be someone who'd be encouraging Spider-Man to be, I guess, I'd say illegal, but like he's already pretty illegal in this universe. But like, I mean, like care less about his morals, that basically for himself kind of deal. You have J. Jonah Jameson, who I'm honestly not sure what I'd do with him. He's still gonna hate Spider-Man, at least for a while, but I'm not sure whether he'd be a Skrull or he'd be like some kind of like human resistance leader that just keeps not shutting up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can picture like, because in the Secret Wars episode of the cartoon, like, Jameson was still pretty much doing his thing, like speaking out against like the Kingpin and stuff. Yeah. Even though like there's almost nobody left to broadcast to.
Yeah, Secret Invasion. I kept thinking Secret Wars was a different storyline in the comics, but I was like, I got the name mixed up.
Yeah.
So many secrets going on here. What happened? What secret play date next Marvel 2025?
Every new the template for every new Avengers movie: secret blank.
Secret blank. We're gonna keep running out of adjectives. The fake Doctor Strange warned us about. But yeah, like you can imagine where most of it would go from there. I think it's interesting, at least as a concept.
Yeah, that does sound interesting. Like, it's definitely different, but
yeah,
that could definitely be a good thing.
Well, I wouldn't want to replace like the current spot. Oh, okay, maybe the current ones, but but like I wouldn't want it to become like the main canon or anything. But as like a what if or a cartoon or a separate comic, I think it could be interesting.
Yeah, my idea was more if I could reboot the universe, how would I do it?
Yeah, although if I was doing his outfit in this version, I originally would have it start out looking like Ben O'Reilly's suit. You know what I mean? How it's more like. Yeah, I mean, like, in my version, he literally makes his first outfit by taking the jacket that was torn up when he was, Spider-Man, when he was Peter Parker, got beat up, and then just putting on, like, a full-body red suit, like, putting on some goggles for his eyes, and that was just, like, the first gen of his suit that he has for at least a while in the story.
Oh, yeah, like the, kind of like the suit Peter had in Civil War before Iron Man gave him, like, the proper Spidey suit.
Yeah, and then as it goes on, he would kind of slowly start to upgrade it as he gets a understanding of some tech he can use for it, or just better material.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on that.
Yeah, I think I'm out of ideas too.
Yeah. I really should develop an outro.
Yeah.
I mean, usually I just put that outro thing at the end.
Oh yeah, the little push the button, become a subscriber.
Yeah, I need to update that because it doesn't reflect the current design.
Yeah.
Old footage, am I right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, it
Should
was
we
great
just
having
stop
you on here.
recording?
Yeah, it was great having you, Shadowflare.
Thanks. Great to be here, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, why don't you hit that sub button? You're gonna become a subscribble. Get to see my content quicker. Wouldn't that be nice? I bet so.